Good afternoon. We're gonna give it a minute or here while we wait for a few other people to join the webinar, and then we'll dive in. So, in the meantime, you can just put your name into the chat, where you're from, and what type of photography you do, what type of client you serve. And like I said, we'll get started here in just a few seconds. I know I'm always running a little bit late to webinars, meetings, and all kinds of stuff going on. So I don't want anybody to miss the beginning and then feel confused throughout the rest of the time. Just give it one more minute here. Calgary, nice. How long have you been shooting, Quinn? How's the weather? I'm outside of Philadelphia, and it's boiling hot here. 14 years, nice. I've been doing it for around the same time. That's great. Awesome. Hot this week, nice. It's hot here as well. So we'll get started. So the reason we're having this webinar is because you are interested in a better way to find and hire help for your jobs. Whether you've been doing this for 2 years or 15 or whatever, it doesn't matter. One of the most frustrating parts about running your studio is finding assistants, second shooters, and lead photographers. And for so many years as a photographer, that was always the most irritating part of my job. I would go post a job on Facebook. I'd go into one of the photography groups, post a job, and then what would happen would be 15 or 30 or more people would comment and say, oh, they're available, and they would say, pick me. And you start diving into their work, and you realize that, half of them are 300 miles away and they want you to pay travel fees. And the other ones are sharing their Facebook gallery that they put together. They're not legitimate photographers. Others, they have quality work. You check them out, and you reach out to them and you realize that they're not actually available for the date that you need them for. It was just a frustrating process. And I'm a part of some of those national groups. I'm part of some of those local groups. And it was just always irritating because anytime I would need to find help, it's like you go through that process of posting a job, and then, some people comment and respond, and you get distracted from editing or doing whatever real business stuff you need to do. And you pop back on Facebook and you get sucked into that world for, half an hour, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. And it's just a headache. So about 4 years ago, I realized that there had to be a better way for this. And I was like, man, I wish there was an app or some sort of solution that would make it easier for photographers to easily, just in one session, go on the app, search the platform, see who's local, available, aligns with their job needs, and then be able to offer them the job directly and have that all take just a matter of minutes. And then they can go back to doing what they're doing. And the more I was thinking about it, the more I realized that one of the biggest problems our industry has as photographers is that there's no accountability. I can hire somebody to second shoot. They can say they, have a lot of experience. They can show a portfolio. I don't know. But yeah, you ultimately hire them, and then they come out and they're a disaster. And you're like, oh my gosh, like I don't want somebody else to go through the same problem of hiring the same person, but there's no accountability. It's not like you're going to go into a Facebook group and put the person on blast. So when we were building out this solution called Shoot With Me, one of the core parts of it is that you can search the platform for reviews. So when you see somebody's profile, and I'll get into this in a little bit, you're able to see their reviews. You can see who they've worked with and what other photographers have said about them. So listen, finding help used to suck. We launched Shoot With Me about a year ago, and it's been growing like, freaking whatever grows fast, it's growing like crazy. And what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to find studios that are having that same problem that we did, where they're tired of posting on Facebook. They're tired of going through that old process where they're wasting time and they're dealing with subpar results. And we're trying to introduce them to a better way. So we're going to dive right in here. So who we are. My name is Nathan. I've been a wedding photographer for 15 years. I was telling Quinn earlier in the conversation when we were chatting back and forth. I've been doing this for 15 years. I'm in the greater Philadelphia area, do weddings all over the place, mostly within driving distance. My business partner is Mike. He's also a wedding photographer. His studio has 5 or 7 other photographers that work for him. And we've been working on this solution for the last couple of years because we know that the industry needs something like this. It needs not only the platform that we've built to make it easy to find and hire help, but it also needs that accountability. That's why we're doing this. So how it works. I'm sure you've all used Airbnb before, where you say, okay, I need to go to Charleston, and you go on Airbnb and you put Charleston in, you put the date in, and then you kind of put some other details, maybe what type of house you're looking for. Are you looking for a house or a cottage or a room, whatever? You can filter those results. Well, Shoot With Me works the same way. When a studio has a hiring need, they go on Shoot With Me and they click Find Help. And in that process, they're able to enter all the job details, the location, the date, what they're looking for. So an assistant, second shooter, or lead photographer, and then they're able to see those results. So in that process, that takes about 30 seconds to do, and then they can see everybody that's available. And we're going to actually show you what that process looks like. So this is my actual profile on Shoot With Me. When I log into Shoot With Me, this is what I see right now. So my profile type allows me to get hired by other studios and to find help. But today we're only talking about the finding help part. And I want you to know that for studios like yours that are looking to only find help for their jobs, the platform is completely free to use. There's no charge. So we don't take a cut of the money that you pay to the other photographer. There's no back end fee or anything that we charge. We built this so that studios like yours would have a resource to easily find and hire help. So you can see right under my profile picture that Find Help button. So anytime I need to create a job, I click that Find Help button and it takes me to this page. So I enter in the details. For this job, I'm looking for a second shooter. I enter in the job name, the job date, the timing if I have it, because we found that photographers, when they get offered a job, if they know the timing, they're more likely to accept it. And you can enter in the location. You can put in all the locations. So if they're getting ready at a hotel, going to church, going to the reception, whatever, you can put all those details in there, because later on in the process, when the second shooter accepts your job, they come back to this job reference page to get some of those details. It's just as easy as sending a questionnaire. Same thing with the notes. So what we typically tell people is put in all the notes that person needs to know before accepting the job. You don't need to give the whole timeline, but you can say, hey, it's going to be a minimum of 8 hours. You're going to do groom prep. You're going to need to be able to do X, Y, and Z, yada, yada, yada. Put in the details that are important to you. And then when that person gets the job offer, they know what your expectations are. So once you've done that process, you would see a list like this. This is in the Philadelphia area where we have a huge user base that joined a little over a year ago when we launched in the Philadelphia area. Other parts of the country don't have as strong of a user base because we only launched nationally back in February 2022. Depending on where you're at, you might have 40 people available, you might have 4 people available. So I'll speak to that in a little bit later on as to kind of how we're resolving that. But right now, this is a search result. So I've worked with Chris and Kristen in the past. I made them favorites because they were fantastic to work with. So that's another thing. At the end of the process, once you've worked with somebody, you go through that review process, you can favorite them so that in the future, it's easier to find them when you're creating jobs. So basically, you'd be able to go through somebody's profile. I pulled up Chris's here. And right when you land on their profile, you're going to see their bio where it gives some of their work experience. It talks about gear. They can list out some of the skills that they have. So if they have off-camera flash skills or groom prep or whatever, they can put all that there, and then what gear ecosystem they're in. You can also check out their portfolio. So click on that tab. You're able to go down through, see their work, see if it aligns with what you're looking for. And then you can check out their reviews. So the reviews, honestly is the bread and butter of the platform, because it's that social proof, knowing that so-and-so hired this person. You know that you can trust them because you know that they have that cachet from the other people that they've worked with. Conversely, if somebody has gotten poor reviews, you know that it's a red flag for hiring them. And one of the things that we found is sometimes in our Facebook groups, there are people that have really strong name recognition. They might post a lot, they might comment a lot, but ultimately their photography doesn't align with how active they are in the group. And that's something you can't see in a Facebook group. However, once people start hiring that person and say, man, they're not making the cut, their reviews are going to go down, and it's going to be that red flag that helps you better find help for your job. So essentially what we do after that is, once you've selected a handful of people that you believe are a good fit, you can build your job offer queue. So on Shoot With Me, instead of you posting a job, we're actually offering the job to somebody. So during this build queue time, build your job queue, you're putting all of your top candidates in a list, and then you're putting them in order. So I have Chris at the top, I have Kristen next, and then I have a couple people after that. You set the response time. So when I hit that little green button at the bottom where it says start job offer queue, Chris is going to get a booking request, and he's going to have 2 days to accept it or decline it. If he runs out of time or declines it, it goes to the next person on the list, and then they have 2 days to accept or decline. And they have that same process, and it goes down through. We recommend having 5 to 7 people in your job offer queue. The more people you have, the more likely it is that you're going to find somebody. And just a note on the time for the job offer. If it's a job coming up in November, you can have more time for them to make a decision. If it's a job coming up tomorrow, well, you might want to have less time, because you don't want somebody taking too much time and maybe declining or timing out. They don't respond to the job, and the next person doesn't get a list. I had a wedding earlier this year where on the Wednesday before a Friday wedding, my second shooter messaged me, said she had COVID, and I was out doing some yard work. I came in, no stress, no nothing, came in on Shoot With Me, set up a job queue. The second person in my queue accepted the job. And there was no stress involved. It was such an easy process. So you hit that start job offer queue. And then the page basically comes to this, where it shows who is at what position in the queue and how much time they have left to respond. So essentially you're done. You can get back to work. That whole process takes, a couple minutes. From Chris's end, so I got permission from Chris to log into his account just to show you what it looks like when you get a job offer. So you can see there in the middle on the right-hand side, it's Bill and Monica's wedding. It's pending. So in order for him to accept this job, he has to click that job, and it takes him to this page. He'll see the details. He'll see who's offering him the job and what hourly rate that he has set for this job. So photographers who are wanting to get hired on Shoot With Me, they set their own rate, their hourly rate. And when I offer them a job, I'm essentially accepting the hourly rate that they've set. So Chris has $50 an hour set for this. He can accept it or decline it. It's totally up to him. So I had him accept the job. Then on my end, I'll get an email from the system, basically says, hey, Chris accepted your job. It'll give me all these details. It'll make it super easy for me to come back to this later on in the process and say, oh, I had Chris hired for this date. I have all the hourly rates and the job details all listed there. So it's a good reference point just to do that at a glance. Finally, on my Shoot With Me profile, when I click on the job, it'll show up and say, oh, second shooter's confirmed. Chris is this person. It gives me their contact information. It allows me to message them through the platform with any details that they need to know. So I typically send over a questionnaire to my second shooter, just with all the details, locations, and all that stuff. But I do that closer to the date. I don't need to worry about that right now. I know that Chris is secured for this date. And then one of the other things you can do on the platform is you can just see all of the jobs that you've created and what the status is. So right now I have one active queue going for a job that I need to find help for in September, but all of my other weddings are booked. I have coverage there. You can see I have Chris, I have Nicole, Ben, Sarah. I have all these different photographers booked. We went through that same process with them to offer them the job. And then they accepted it, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. It's super easy. So like I said, we launched back in June of last year in the greater Philadelphia area. The Philadelphia market is growing quickly. There are a lot of people using the platform, a lot of studios finding and hiring help. We have not reached full capacity here. There's so many studios still that haven't even heard about us yet. It's an entirely new category in our industry. There's never been a hiring platform like this before. There's been some where it's essentially Craigslist, where you have a profile, but you can't actually get a booking request. There's no availability. It's not actually saving the studio any time. Whereas on Shoot With Me, as a studio, you can come on the platform and quickly find help for your job and not need to stress out about it. You're welcome to read some of the reviews that we have pulled up here from some of our active users. You can see one from Tom and Matt, Carrie, and Scott. These are all photographers in our area that are using the platform to easily find help. And again, if you're a photographer that is looking for help for your own jobs, but is also looking to get hired, fill in the gaps of your own schedule, you can do that too. So keep that in mind as you're checking out the platform. One thing I want to note, and we have a separate webinar for people that are looking to get hired, but I always want to say this now. When you join and your goal is to get hired, you can do everything that a normal user does. When you create an account, you can set your availability, upload your portfolio, everything. When you get your first booking request, it's going to hide some of the studio details. So you're not going to know the exact studio who is offering you the job. And the reason we do that is because essentially you're on a free trial until you get your first booking request. And at that point, we need to become a subscriber to the platform. And then there's a small monthly fee that basically lets us continue to run this platform. So once you become a subscriber, you're able to actually accept that job, see who the studio is, see all the details. So you'll still see the date, the location, the hourly rate, the amount of time the job is. You're just not going to be able to go off platform to reach out to that studio and say, oh, I saw you offered a job on Shoot With Me. Can you just book me off platform? And honestly, you don't want to do that anyway, because when you start to get reviews on Shoot With Me, they're solid gold. You become so much more reliable to other studios because they know that so-and-so hired you, you had a great experience with them, you delivered a quality product to them, and you're able to build a reputation in your local groups because of those reviews. So a couple things that you can do to set yourself up for success on Shoot With Me. As a studio user, first thing obviously is create an account. You're not going to be able to get comfortable and familiar with the platform until you create an account. And once you've done that, you'll be on your dashboard and you can immediately find help for jobs if you want to. The other thing you can do is you can preemptively pre-vet talent. So we have a browse feature where you can put in a location and a radius, and you can see everybody that's a second shooter within 50 miles of Kansas City or of Calgary or wherever you are, whatever area you want to see. And then you can start going through people's portfolios. You can read their bios, read their reviews if there are any. And if somebody seems like a good fit for future jobs, you can favorite them right now. And that makes it so much easier when you need to hire somebody down the line. You can come on and you can say, oh, there's 3 people here that are my favorite options already. I'm just going to offer them the job. You don't even need to worry about looking at everybody else, because sometimes we're doing this and we're in a pinch. We get that notification from somebody that we had booked that they can't do the wedding anymore. They can't do the event anymore. And we're scrambling to find help. The other thing you can do right away, like I mentioned before, we just launched nationally in February, and there are parts of the country, many parts, that do not have a strong user base. Shoot With Me is a true marketplace platform. It requires there to be a lot of supply in your area and that demand in order for it to work. Just like Airbnb, if you're wanting to go to the middle of nowhere, if there aren't houses available there that you can rent, you're not getting any value from the platform. So go into your local groups, share about the platform, tell people about our free trial and how that they can log on, they can create an account, and they can do everything that they need to do. And they don't have to worry about paying until they actually get value. So that's something that we highly recommend. And also, one of the other things that is sometimes overlooked, let's say, we're in the middle of August here. Let's say you have 6 photographers booked for your fall wedding dates. One of the best things you can do to help gain traction in your local market is go to your 6 people that you already have booked and say, hey, there's this new platform called Shoot With Me. I want to hire you through Shoot With Me so that we can get that review cred. So take a minute, create an account on Shoot With Me, set your availability, and I'm going to come on and I'm going to book you for these jobs that we already have you booked for. And then after those jobs, you're able to review each other, and it'll just give you both a lot more traction in your local market as that market grows. So those are 4 quick things you can do that are going to set you apart and make it a lot easier for you for when you're looking to find and hire help. We get objections to the platform. Some people say, oh, Facebook isn't that complicated. Well, if you're a normal person, you get distracted by Facebook. So you go to post a job and you start scrolling, and before you know it, half an hour is gone. And as business owners, we don't have time for that, which is why doing it off platform is such a distraction-free way to find and hire help. Other people say, oh, I rarely need help. I talk to some photographers where they're like, man, I only hire 1 or 2 people a year and I just don't want to do it. Listen, it's a free account. There is no downside to creating an account and having it available for you when you need it. You may be in a pinch sometime where you tap your local network of photographers and nobody's available. You don't want to be in a position where all of a sudden you have to come on Shoot With Me. You have no reviews. Nobody knows who you are. And all of a sudden you're scrambling to find help. If you have those reviews in place and people can say, oh, so-and-so was fantastic to work with, I'd absolutely do it again, people are going to be more likely to accept your jobs. Same thing with people who come to us and say, oh, I use the same second shooter at every wedding. Unless you're doing 70 plus weddings with that second shooter you're working with likely wants to get hired to fill in the gaps of their schedule for when you're not hiring them. And there's nothing better that you can do for that person that you're working with than book them through Shoot With Me for those reviews. I'm telling you guys, the reviews is the accountability in our industry that we need, specifically when it comes to when it comes to hiring assistant second shooters and lead photographers. So that is something that we highly recommend you do. Go back through all your weddings that you have booked for the year and come back and book them on Shoot With Me with the people who you already have hired. Some people just hate learning new things. Listen, I love learning, but I know some people, when it comes to software, it can be a little complicated. It can be a little difficult. We have a great customer support team. You can always reach out to us if you have any questions. We've built the app to be very intuitive. When you log onto your dashboard, you're going to see that Find Help button. And that's right off the bat. If you need to find and hire help, you just follow that workflow and you're good to go. Other people have some other objections from time to time. We are here to help you with all of those. We wanted to build a product that was attractive to the market. And listen, of course, it's not a one size fits all solution. There are going to be certain scenarios where it's not a good fit. Maybe if you're in another country or whatever, like we haven't launched outside of the United States and Canada. So we get inquiries from Europe sometimes, and they're like, oh, when is Shoot With Me coming here? That's coming down the road. But if you're in the United States or in Canada, this is a fantastic solution for you. So again, we are here to support you in this. We built this tool for our industry because it was a problem that we were having with our own studios, and we knew that so many others were as well. And that's why the platform has been growing the way it is. So if you have questions, you can reach out via live chat. You can email us, and you can join our Facebook community. All 3 places are great ways to find those resources that you need if you have any questions. But right now, I'm here to answer any questions that you have. So if anything piqued your interest while we were talking through all this, if you have questions about how it works, feel free to put them in the chat, and I'm happy to answer them as best I can. So I'll give you a few minutes to type something in. If there aren't any questions, that's totally cool as well. Contract support, Quinn. Yes. So right now, there is no way to upload a contract for the second shooter to sign. That is coming. We are launching a Studio Pro version down the road where you'll be able to pay your your hired help through the platform handle contracts, handle questionnaires, handle tax forms. So that's coming right now. That is not a feature that we offer. So we encourage people to use their CRM or just email contracts like you've been doing. Great question. Does anybody else have any questions? Well, awesome, guys. Thank you for joining me today. Again, feel free to reach out down the line if this is something that you want to implement in your business. We are here for you to support you and help you along the way. We want you to know that posting jobs on Facebook is fun because it's distracting and it kind of scratches that itch. But doing it on Shoot With Me is efficient, it's reliable, and it's consistent. So join the platform, share with your friends, and we'll talk soon. Take care.